guys, so it's Melissa Shervington, and this is actually a very overdue video. So for those who don't know me, I recently sold my estate agency business, which is located in Sutton Coldfield, Birmingham, called Amity Properties. We also had a sub-brand called Amity Unique Homes, and that's because we serviced the high end of the market but also the middle market as well for lettings and sales. The sale concluded on the 20th of December 2019, and many people have been asking me, why did you sell your business when it was doing so well? From somebody looking from the outside in, I guess it doesn't really make sense. Why would I do that? But I had my reasons, and it wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. It wasn't a distressed decision. It wasn't a decision that I just sort of thought about. It was a decision that I made right at the beginning of my business journey in a estate agency. So there's 3 key reasons as to why I sold my business, and I'd like to share them with you today, and hopefully you get some value from that. So the reason number 1, I sold my business because I'd always had the intention to. So I launched the business in June 2014, and from the very beginning, even before I opened the doors and opened the business, whilst doing the business plan, which would have been around 6 years ago, I already made the decision that I was going to sell, and I knew that I would sell on or around 5 years into the business. So I had an exit strategy right at the beginning. And I remember reading a book years ago, possibly 8-9 years ago now, called The E-Myth by Michael E. Gerber. And in The E-Myth, and I recommend that book to every single entrepreneur and small business owner, any business owner out there, because Michael E. Gerber talks about the importance of starting with the end in mind. He talks about the importance of having a clear exit strategy. And he says that when you start a business, if you don't have an end goal in mind and you don't have an exit strategy, you're almost destined for chaos along the way. And that is what I witnessed today with so many entrepreneurs. So many of them become lost along the journey, either ending up in a different direction, ending up feeling overwhelmed, ending up feeling frustrated. Some people give up, some people fight through and burn out in some cases, and unfortunately many, and the statistics are extremely high, many businesses don't make it for different reasons, but not having a clear strategy is one of them. So I always knew, and I've been in business for 12 years now, so it wasn't my first business, and I'd learned from previous mistakes. I always knew the importance of starting with the end in mind, and I had a clear plan that I was going to grow my business and sell it. So I started the business with zero, nilch, nada clients, and I grew that to a very sustainable and very successful business, which I went on to sell. So that was my main reason, because I had an exit strategy and it was my intention. Reason number 2, the marketplace. Now, the importance of knowing your industry, and not only that, the importance of knowing the wider market and the direction in which it's heading. So keyword last year, the year before that, Brexit. That was on everybody's lips. And we all know when the economy changes, one of the major markets that gets shooken up from it is housing, the property market. So the market was rocky last year anyway because of the uncertainty. So a lot of investors and people buying homes and people selling really took the foot off the gas, and the market did slow down and take a dip, which was inevitable. And thankfully it's now picked up again anyhow. And I knew that we were in a rocky time. Now, had my intention had been to continue operating the business on a long-term plan, it wouldn't have made an ounce of difference, because I know that when the market takes a hit, it always recovers. It's cyclical. The housing market, the property market always dips. It goes up, it goes down. If you look back in history, it's never a straight line. Like most industries, we're driven by different things, obviously the economy, etc. So I knew that now was a rocky time and there was a risk of entering into 2020 and the market being very unstable. So that also drove me to make the decision sooner rather than later. So the company, another estate agency business who bought me out, for them, they're in it for the long term. So it would be irrelevant whether the market took a hit or not, because as I said, it would always recover. For me, because I knew I wanted to sell, the best time to sell is when things are going well. So people say to me, why would you sell a business that's doing so well? Because that's the best time to sell, honey. Because if I had allowed and took my foot off the gas and not gone ahead with my original goal, then I could have entered into a very rocky time, which would have had an impact clearly on the valuation of my business too. So it would have devalued potentially. So it made sense for me to make that decision, stick to the plan and do it there and then. So that did give me a little bit of push to make sure that I did it at that particular time. I remember when I learned to drive and I did a crash course. So I did 30 lessons in 3 weeks. And when I passed my test, God knows how, the first time round as well, I couldn't drive because I'd learnt in such a short space of time, but that's a whole nother story. I remember my driving instructor would always say to me, Melissa, you're not looking ahead. My eyes would be fixated on the car in front. I was too busy worried about what if that car braked. I was so fixed on the car in front, so I couldn't see beyond what was in front of me. And he taught me, he continuously prompted me to look ahead. You see, when you look ahead, you can see potential hazards. You can see if the lights are about to change, so that you'll know whether to slow down or speed up. You can see whether the lane is about to be blocked or you've got to turn off or you've got to divert. But if you can see that ahead, that ensures that you don't meet any implications once you get there, because you've already planned for it. So in preparation, you might switch lanes. In preparation, you might slow down or speed up. In preparation, you might decide whether actually it's best that I come off this road and take another route because I can see what's happening ahead. It's the same in your business and in your marketplace. As a business owner, and I'm speaking to entrepreneurs and small business owners in particular, as the leader of your business, it's so important that you're not focused constantly on operational. And this is another thing that I see many business owners doing. They're so caught up in the day-to-day runnings, the operations of their business, that they're not spending enough time on their strategy. And that strategy would involve looking ahead, knowing your landscape, knowing your industry, knowing what impacts political changes, whatever's happening externally may have on your business. So if you cannot see that potential danger ahead, how can you prepare for it? So that was also a part of me making the decision to sell when I did, because as I mentioned, I knew the changes in the marketplace. Not only that, but regulatory changes were happening, particularly in the lettings industry, which was having quite a severe impact. One of the major ones being the tenant fee ban, which meant that as a business we could no longer charge tenants a fee, which the government made that decision because they said that it's harder for tenants to become purchasers because they're caught up in paying so many fees whilst renting, making it impossible to save. So that change came in and it impacted and it shook up the industry. Now, it's not an issue because if you're creative as an entrepreneur, you find other income streams, you find other ways of generating revenue, which I did. But I knew that more changes were coming. The industry is not regulated currently. So again, that was another change that is due to come in. So I knew that actually, if this was a game that I wanted to stay in for the long term, I had to make some changes. But because I knew I wanted to sell, because I had an exit strategy, and because I was looking ahead, I knew that the right time to sell was when I did. So that's 2 reasons. The third reason is my passion was beginning to, I wouldn't say disappear, but it wasn't as strong as it was originally. And I had to check in and question myself actually and ask, because I know as entrepreneurs, we can often get bored. We're great at starting. If you look at Richard Branson, he has a string of businesses. He's a starter, not a finisher. And I can see similarities in the way that I operate. I get bored. When I dug deep last year and I really looked into it, I knew that my passion was starting to fade. One, because I knew that the time was coming for me to package and sell. But two, my heart wasn't in it anymore. And I recognised that I can actually remember one day walking to carry out a valuation at some beautiful, stunning boutique style 12 apartments, brand newly renovated and developed. And previously, this is something that would have got me really, really like, my belly's on fire, because it would have ignited me. And I knew walking to this valuation, I didn't feel the fire in my belly. I didn't feel that passion. And I knew in that moment that it's time. It's time. When your passion has gone, it's a clear indicator as to whether you're in your purpose or not. If you don't feel, and don't get me wrong, you're going to have days where you're up and you're down. But if it's a continual thing and you're noticing that your passion is becoming less and less in what you're doing, it's an indicator that you're not in your purpose. And I knew that I was no longer in my purpose. I knew that I'd served in that industry for a time, but the time was coming to an end. So I question you as an entrepreneur and a business owner. Are you passionate about your industry? Because if you're not, it will show with your clients, it will show with your team, it will show with your associates, it will show in the work that you do. So that is an area that you need to ensure that you're constantly checking over your passion. I knew mine was going. The other reason as to why I think it was going was because operating in an industry where we were the middle person between landlords and tenants, buyers and sellers. Now, you're dealing with a lot, especially on the letting side. You're dealing with a lot of, I'd say, not complaints, but you only really hear from tenants when there's a problem at a property. And then you've got to deliver that bad news to a landlord. For example, my boiler's gone down, I have no heating, hot water. Something you've got to respond to. You've then got to make a call to that landlord who's not happy because they've got to fork out potentially a couple of £1,000 for a new boiler. Many landlords didn't want to do that, or they weren't in a position sometimes. So we were constantly in the middle firefighting. It wasn't exactly a business where you would leave at the end of the day feeling like, wow, I've added value to someone's life today, or wow, what an inspirational day. Most days the team were leaving feeling pretty deflated because they'd been firefighting all day, and that wasn't in alignment with my core values, because I'm all about adding value, I'm all about being in your passion, I'm all about operating in your purpose. And I knew that we'd made a good impact, we'd disrupted the marketplace, but it wasn't really in alignment with my values, so it was time to move on. So those are the three main reasons as to why I decided to sell my business. Exit strategy, knowing the market and the landscape ahead, and recognising that my passion was no longer as prevalent as it was when I began, and it was fading. So that was it really. Do I regret it? No. Do I miss my team? Yes, but we're still in contact. My team, everybody was safe, nobody lost a job. Team went over, majority of the team went over to the new owners, apart from those who were leaving anyway. And I'm now in a different period, in a new chapter. So now my passion, and has always been, is working with entrepreneurs. So I now help entrepreneurs through events, through training, through coaching, one-on-one and mastermind groups, to be able to streamline their businesses, have clear exit strategies, and be in a position where they're working on their business and not in it, because that is exactly what a business owner should be doing. But I've walked the walk, I've worn the t-shirt, and I know the journey in business. So I'm here to help. So if anybody out there is currently feeling like they're stuck, or maybe if it's you, you're feeling a bit frustrated, overwhelmed, you started this business and now you feel like you're in a full-time job, that wasn't the original plan, then I'm here and I can help. Whether it be through training or coaching, reach out and get in touch. Or perhaps you're thinking about packaging your business to sell. Again, I've been through that process, so if you need any direction on that, then I'm happy to help. Just send me a message or email me at melissa@melissashervington.com. Thank you and take care.